What is San Francisco known for? Hippies? The Giants? Silicon Valley? Earthquakes. That's what San Francisco is known for. We face earthquakes every day. Why is this? We live on San Andreas Fault, one of the most active fault lines in the world. Every day, thousands of earthquakes happen on this fault line. The majority of them you will never feel. In fact, I can guarantee an earthquake is happening right now. But we don't feel it. They're tiny. But every once in a while, a big one will come by. One or two of these big ones were in 1906 and 1989. In 1906, widespread devastation occurred when a huge earthquake hit. This earthquake lasted for a full 90 seconds. Its shaking was enormous. 3,000 people died, the equivalent of 9/11. And this was all due to Mother Nature. The 1989 one, and about the 1906 one, 200,000 people were made homeless. Guess how many people were living in San Francisco? 400,000. That's half the population made homeless after 90 seconds. All it took was 90 seconds. The 1989 one was a little less dramatic, although it did have widespread chaos. It lasted for only 30 seconds. But because it happened while the World Series was on air, it brought national attention to the problem of earthquakes. It stopped the World Series, everything went black. People could hear the screams in the stadium.
Fires. You all know fires are bad. Pretty much goes without explaining. Now, you may be thinking, what do fires have to do with earthquakes? Well, you see, after every earthquake, stuff catches on fire. Simple fact. You see, because when an earthquake happens, buildings fall over and people are forced to flee very quickly. And in almost every block, in any city, there's always at least one open fire at some point. Now, an open fire could be cooking, it could be a campfire. Some people burn their own trash. So, open fire. Now, normally, that's not an issue. It stays contained. But when an earthquake happens, stuff starts to fall. Stuff starts to fall onto this fire, and piles of rubble are catching fire at this point. Now, this is burning up any survivors who may be trapped in the rubble. This is destroying more homes that were unaffected. You see, because the rubble falls across streets, it falls across backyards, it falls into other people's houses. This is easy for fires to cross this path of rubble and spread and level entire neighborhoods. Now, in the 1906 earthquake, many people were killed by fires. More people were killed by fires than they were killed by the earthquake itself. Now, since then, San Francisco has taken great leaps to help solve the issue of fires. We've added more fire hydrants. We've added high-pressure fire hydrants. We've added better pipes, and we've added better water reservoirs. But it's not enough in some neighborhoods. You see, in the Excelsior, Richmond, and Sunset districts, they don't have high-pressure fire hydrants. High-pressure fire hydrants are very important in putting out fires. So let's take a step back and talk about what a high-pressure fire hydrant is. A high-pressure fire hydrant is a normal fire hydrant, except it has a higher water pressure so that it can put out fires higher up in a building, further into a building, or put out multiple fires at once. Now, this is very important in the event of an earthquake because there will be many fires. So, you desperately need a high-pressure fire hydrant. If there's a major earthquake, these districts would burn. Simple as that. There's not a whole lot in those districts to stop fires from running rampant and killing lots of people. Now, another issue is some buildings in SF are not as structurally sound as other buildings. In particular, the Tenderloin in Chinatown have huge issues with this. Now, this has a lot to do with fires because when buildings fall over and they fall on top of a fire hydrant might as well not be there. It's covered. Firemen can't get to this fire hydrant, and people and buildings will burn. So that's a very serious issue which should be solved if you want San Francisco to survive. Now, not all hope is lost. In June, on the ballot, there is a measure to add $400 million to the fire department's budget to fix this problem. But that's up to you guys to vote on. And if you don't vote, nothing will happen and the problem will remain the same, if not get worse. So you should vote on it. But even then, that's not quite enough to solve the issue completely. Thank you.
In addition to fires, there's a large problem in San Francisco. It's known as soil liquefaction. Soil liquefaction is a phenomenon where the strength and stiffness of the soil is reduced by earthquake shaking or rapid burning. Soil liquefaction has been responsible for numerous amounts of damage in the Bay Area, especially in the 1906 and 1989 earthquake. Soil liquefaction is prone to happen in more saturated soils where the particles, stuff inside the particles, are separated by water. When an earthquake shakes, these particles separate and can transform into quicksand and act like a liquid, causing roads and a house's foundation to crumble and falter. However, there is an effective way to fix soil liquefaction. It is called dynamic compaction. And dynamic compaction is where you get a 30 to 100 pound weight and drop it in a grid formation to compact the soil and to prevent against soil liquefaction in your neighborhood or for your house. However, the only problem with this effective method is that the city is so densely populated, as we told you earlier, that it's not possible, it's nearly impossible to do this. So what we recommend is that you're aware of what your surroundings and you know where you're in danger of soil liquefaction. Also, if you're building a new house in one of these areas, such as like the Sunset and Marina districts, that you either do one of these methods, such as vibroflotation, soil compaction, or drainage by putting drainage pipes in the bottom of your foundation. So after all this, you may be wondering what you could do to prevent yourself from an earthquake. It's pretty simple. There are many different organizations, such as NERT and the CEA, which stands for California Earthquake Authority, and Neighborhood Emergency Response Team. These different organizations tell you that you should make sure to secure all your belongings in your house, as well as check for gas leaks and electrical wires in case of an earthquake, because these can cause numerous amounts of damage and start fires. They also suggest that you come up with a great meeting place for your family, because in case of an earthquake, large magnitude earthquake, you have a place for your family to stay, and you can go and reach them.
So let's back up for a second and talk about how we learned this invaluable information. Well, first of all, on the internet portion, we went online to government websites. We saw numerous, honestly, a little bit boring PDFs by organizations such as FEMA and others, and we read through those and sifted out what we needed to know. From then on, we went to the California Academy of Sciences. There we met an expert named Sandy who discussed us about population density and reaffirmed our beliefs about fires. One of the interesting things she brought up about population density was, even though, because the population of San Francisco has doubled since the earthquake of 1906, if an earthquake of the same magnitude were to happen, the results would be even more devastating, which was something we hadn't thought of ourselves, to be honest. We also went to an earthquake exhibit, which had this earthquake simulator in it. Inside the earthquake simulator, we got to see what it was like to be in those earthquakes of 1906 and 1989. It gave us a really good perspective on how to sort of see it. Even though we've been through a few earthquakes ourselves in our lives, none of them were ever up to the scale of which the earthquake simulator showed us.
I like you guys. You've been a good audience. So, you know what? I advise that you prepare for earthquakes, because it just might save your life. And honestly, it'd be a shame if you guys were injured or killed by an earthquake. So, I think it'd be very wise to prepare for an earthquake. We've showed you how, so now it's your chance to get out there and help fix the problem. Fix it at its root, and it won't be a problem in the future. Thank you.